Hi, today from Antigua and Barbuda, from the capital St. John's. Today we'll be talking about taxing billionaires in the series called Equality. Stay with me till the next part. Should we tax billionaires? There are some economists demanding to put a one-time tax on the assets, on the wealth of the billionaires, of our modern time billionaires. You know, 1% of people owns roughly half the wealth of the world. And these economists ask the question, why wouldn't they share the wealth with the people in need, the needy, or the people who really need that money? They can't eat 5 lunches a day. They can't spend all the money. Why do they need that much money? Why not tax their wealth and distribute it among the people in need? But the economies that demand that tax, to tax billionaires, they don't have a clue about economy. They don't understand how the wealth came about and what the wealth that the billionaires have is about, and they don't understand anything about business. In reality, nobody keeps that money in cash. Almost all the money, 99% of that money, is invested in the shares of billionaires' companies. Actually, 75-80% of the billionaires in our world are self-made people, and 99% of the wealth are in the companies, or the shares in the companies that they have created. They don't have that money in cash, meaning that taxing these people would demand them or would force them to sell the shares of the companies, a part of the shares. They would lose the controlling majority, they would lose the control over the companies, and that would mean that the companies could collapse, or at least they would get in trouble, because the founder, the person who really built that company, who gives the culture and also the drive, the vision to the company, he is not at the helm anymore, not controlling the company anymore. The company is then in control of some financial magicians, of some investment funds, and the founder doesn't play that role anymore. And that easily could mean that the revenue of that company could drop 20-30%, or the company could even go broke, go bankrupt. And alone the revenue drop of 20-30% would mean that they would need to lay off maybe 20, maybe 30% of the employees. And the companies are huge companies, hundreds of thousands of employees. Let's say a company, a billion-dollar company, I know several billion-dollar companies that have over 100,000 employees. Let's say a company of 100,000 employees. If you fire 20-30% of the staff, it means 20-30,000 people are fired, lose their jobs in the sake of the people in need. So we create 20-30,000 new people in need just for one-time payment and distribution to some people in need, right? And these people who get fired, they get fired not because they weren't performing, not because they weren't working diligently, they weren't working good. No, they were working too good, because now they need to provide for the others as well. They are punished for the good work, and they lose their jobs. because they have created a billion-dollar company, a huge company, and needs now to be taxed with an additional, needs now to be hit with additional tax on the billionaire wealth, right? So we punish people who create great value for the sake of one-time payment to some underperforming losers in the society. Antigua and Barbuda is a good example of what would happen if we tax billionaires, if we tax the really wealthy people. Gordon Butch Stewart created the probably most luxurious hotel chain here in the Caribbean called Sandals Hotels. They are all-inclusive hotels, 24, 25 hotels around the Caribbean. He almost one-handedly created the growing, the burgeoning tourist industry here in the Caribbean on many islands. One of his hotels is here on Antigua, called Antigua Grand Sandals. Butch employs over 10,000 people, and he employs probably around 500 people here on Antigua. And they are really good paid jobs, safe jobs, because his hotels are thriving and making money and creating great value. He is very innovative, and he actually started this all-inclusive business model that proved really successful and performant. And what would happen if you tax him for his success, for the value, for the wealth he has created? He would need to sell some shares of his company, and he would lose the controlling majority of his company. Some investment fund would take over his company and squeeze out the profits as quickly as possible, and then sell out the company, and the company would collapse and would probably close down all the hotels, or maybe sell them off, or maybe fire 50% of the staff or whatever. That would mean that many people, hundreds of people here or on Antigua, would lose their jobs, and this would be the primary effect. And the secondary effect would be that the tourists would stop coming. You see here the ships, the cruise ships, 4 cruise ships in the harbor today, and there are several flights today coming in with the people to stay in these hotels. And if they stop coming, of course, the economy would stop functioning, would stop growing here, because Antigua and Barbuda was an English colony, a British colony, and was a pretty poor country till Butch and the likes started to build resorts here, hotels, and use the resources of the country, the beautiful beaches of the country, to attract tourists who come here by 10,000s every day and spend their money and drive the economy of the country. So if these hotels stop providing for the tourists will stop coming, and the economy of this developing third world country will collapse, or at least would take a major hit. So let's think twice before we start taxing billionaires for their wealth. Aida Perla is leaving the harbor of St. John's on Antigua and Barbuda. That's it from St. John's in Antigua and Barbuda. If you like this video, give me a thumb up. If not, thumb down. Share this video with your loved ones, with your friends. One day they will thank you for that. I talk here a lot about how the best entrepreneurs in our times think and act, how the self-made billionaires of our times think and act. I talk here a lot about economy, about money, about doing great impossible things in your life and business. So if you like this video, I encourage you to watch my other videos. That's it for today from Antigua and Barbuda. I wish you a fantastic day. Let's do something extraordinary today.